Spring training starts in 8 days, much to the surprise of my wife. I guess we better talk about it. That's next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, there you see some of the candidates. I don't know that Cole Winn's there yet, but Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, and do that cross thing that you like to do if you're a Christian or a Catholic or whatever. It's time to wonder about that closers rule. We've been wondering about it all season. Before we get started, Jeff Wilson here. Glad you've joined us. Elijah, the prophet, is back doing Kat's work for her today while Kat is stuck in a bunch of Zoom meetings. Fantastic. Glad to have him here. Glad to have somebody who understands the show and can help me get through this hour-long deal. Happy Groundhog's Day to those who celebrate. Puxatawny Phil, that little SOB, saw his shadow, so 6 more weeks of winter apparently. Pretty interesting. I heard this morning that of all the years somebody bothered to do this, did the math, and Phil is accurate about 30% of the time. So it's just a big coincidence. However, it seems like winter has started late this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little chilly. The good news is next week in Arizona looks like it's going to be good. That's where I'm going to be. We'll do the show next Monday. Well, we'll do it Wednesday and Friday this week. Next Monday, we'll do it from the studio. Then I go to the airport, fly my happy butt to Arizona, and spring training starts on Tuesday. Pitchers and catchers work out for the first time. A lot of them, it's always a little bit less crowded at pitchers and catchers' first workout. Slowly but surely, position players will come in and you can start interviewing them and everything. But so many questions about the pitching staff. Number one, chief among them, who's going to close games? Well, that's a hell of a question. So let's take a look. As you guys know, the Rangers had a lot of turnover from last year, lost a lot of guys in free agency. Sean Armstrong, Phil Maton there at the end of the year. Sure would have been nice to see Sean Armstrong back, especially considering he didn't sign for that much, guys. Anyway, they did sign Alexis Diaz, as you see there. Chris Martin is back. Jakob Junis just signed a few weeks ago. And then you see some non-roster guys. Tyler Alexander was signed the same day as Diaz right after the winter meetings. So you see some names, and this is what I predict. This is what I predict is going to happen on opening day. You'll have Alexis Diaz, Chris Martin, Jakob Junis, Cole Winn, Cal Quantrill, who's a non-roster invitee. Yes, he's a starter. I'll get into this a little bit later. Robert Garcia, who is one of the holdovers from last year. Might be the only holdover. I mean, I guess you include Martin now. But and then you see Robbie Ahlstrom, who's a non-roster invitee. I think he makes it. You can go ahead and connect the dots on who I don't think makes it. Chief among them, Carter Bromler, the Rule 5 guy. I just don't see the Rangers being able to hang on to him. So might as well cut bait early rather than experiment with it. Anyway, that's my prediction. That means I probably think Jake Latz is going to be in the rotation to start the year, which he's deserved. It buys Kamar Rocker sometime. The Quantrill thing, I was talking to a club official about it the other day, and I think that Quantrill could be like Adrian Hauser last year, who should have been on the opening day roster. I mean, he proved it. Once he got to the big leagues, he was really good. He was actually traded at the deadline. He was that good. Somebody said to me, Caleb Bosley, who was very serviceable. Okay, very serviceable guy. He served a purpose. His numbers weren't great, but they're good enough to get him a job overseas. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Kind of more of a true long man, a guy you can put in. and maybe a spot starter. You're preserving your starting depth that way if you put him on the opening day roster. Kind of a trick to do that without setting him in the minors or without him taking a deal somewhere else, because that does happen that time of year at the end of spring training. Teams need starters, teams need pitching, and they'll find a guy like Quantrill who's going to be affordable and knows how to log innings, knows how to get outs, and so that's why I did that. Now, but that doesn't really answer the big question: who is the closer? I think it's down to like 3 guys at the start of the year. Alexis Diaz, who's done it before and done it well. 23, 24 combined, gosh, I want to say 65 saves those 2 seasons for the Reds. Last year was just a disaster, right? 8.18 ERA. He went to in the offseason working with the guy who coaches Aroldis Chapman, and everything, all the reports were good. And then he goes out and pitches in the Puerto Rican Winter League and makes 4 appearances, 2 2/3 innings. So we got to consider that. We also have to consider the 16.88 ERA and wonder, eesh, how's that looking? The Rangers would love it, absolutely love it, if Alexis Diaz emerged as their closer. I think they have visions of Kirby Yates in their mind. Kirby Yates signed a deal early in the offseason after the 23 season. He was coming off a pretty shaky year, healthy but shaky. Gave up like 9 home runs for the Braves that year in 60 innings. Then he comes in. He's a setup guy. Jose Leclerc can't get the job done early in April in 24. Kirby Yates is the guy, never relinquishes the job. 33 or 34 saves. We all know what happened. Rangers couldn't re-sign him. He went to the Dodgers. Now he's with the Angels, back with Mike Magus. But the point is, the Rangers are hoping they strike on some gold here, and they hope it's Alexis Diaz. Now, it may not be to start the year. Chris Martin has been mentioned. Garcia obviously did it at times last year. I think Jakob Junis might, but get a chance. What the Rangers are going to do, and they've said this in the offseason, Ross Fenstermaker, we were standing outside at the winter meetings on the Tuesday of the winter meetings doing our media availability, and he said we're searching for pockets. So what's a pocket? It's the Rangers' fancy term. I don't know if it's fancy. It's a pocket. It's their term for finding 3 or 4 hitters that a reliever they think would have really good success with, whether it's his stuff, overpowering somebody, a slider against somebody, whatever it is. The Rangers want to find enough pockets that they can get 9 to 12 outs, with a lead and preserve the game that way. Now, you saw it work sometimes, no question about it. You saw, though, that it didn't work probably too often. Now, granted, this bullpen had no margin for error. The offense was so bad that a lot of times it was 3-2 when they would come into the game, and no wiggle room. It's hard. These guys can't be perfect. Everybody wishes they could have been. Every team wishes their bullpen was perfect. It's just not reality. So they like this plan, though. It's affordable, which of course was the overriding offseason factor this year. They like the fact that a lot of these guys throw strikes. If you're keeping free runners on the base, if you're keeping the ball in the ballpark, solo home runs won't get you beat. In a lot of cases, those 3-run homers after 2 walks, those will kill you. Those are backbreakers. So I'm thinking Martin maybe, but then we saw he can't go back to back. When he does, his arm starts popping. He's 40 years old and he starts hearing things and he blows up on the mound. He's angry and he has to come out of the game. And you're like, oh well, he's got to be shut down for a couple weeks or for 15 days or it just. They got to handle him delicately. So if he can go every other day, okay, great. But what do you do on the on the days he can't pitch? You don't want to lose. So, you're going to send out whoever you can. I think of the guys who will be on the opening day bullpen, I think Cole Winn ultimately has the chance to earn a spot late in games. Now, I brought that up at the winter meetings, and I was kind of laughed at for suggesting it. They think he's too young. They don't know that he's there yet consistently with his consistency. But he does throw 98, which is harder than any reliever the Rangers currently have. on the 40-man. Well, Teodo's on the 40-man. Take that back. Who has big league experience and is on the 40-man. And he has 3 other pitches. He's found a split. He's got a slider. He throws a little cutter in there. And really, if you want to say a 5th pitch, he has a changeup, a straight changeup that, and instead of the splitter being the changeup, it's a true changeup. The guy knows how to pitch. He was a starter. Whatever ailed him after Double-A, those 3 years at Triple-A, really the 2 years, and then he looked like he figured it out last year. I think he knows how to relieve now. So I think he's got a chance to maybe late in the year, if the Rangers need a closer or if they're still searching, might as well give him a shot, right? See how it works. I kind of think that's how they felt about Garcia last year. I was like, well, this guy's hurt or this guy's not working. Well, why don't we try him? Well, mixed success, right? July, right around the All-Star break, was not pretty for him. Right at the trade deadline was not pretty for him, now all the trade deadline moves came before that Friday night in Seattle and that Saturday afternoon. But yeah, I think the message was pretty clear that the Rangers weren't going to be content with Robert Garcia. I like Robbie Ahlstrom. I've never, ever have denied that. I met him last year in the offseason. He was actually working out in our area at my son's facility. So that was cool. Met him, got to know him a little bit better. I had somebody tell me recently that he can serve a purpose like Garcia does. Ahlstrom doesn't throw as hard as Garcia, but he does have a really good slider that can play, again, in a certain pocket. I really think that he's got a shot. The Rangers have brought him back to big league camp for the 2nd straight year. They're going to need somebody, multiple somebodies. Last year, they had 6 newcomers to the bullpen. When you look at Luke Jackson, you can't forget about him. They signed somebody during spring training last year. It was Luke Jackson. He opened the season as a closer. Now, that didn't go well, right? What I think could happen, there's still a lot of relievers out there. Danny Coulombe is out there, all right? If the Rangers can find the right price for him, I think they do it. But I don't know who, but they're looking. They're always looking for ways to upgrade the team. But I like Ahlstrom, assuming there are no more moves, which you can never assume with this ball club. Some other guys who are going to be in camp, we can't forget about Luis Curvelo, right? Who came up last year, threw hard, excited, pitches on emotion, a lot of adrenaline. We like the guy. And then Mark Church. Everybody seems to forget about Mark Church. I saw it earlier in the chat. Mark Church, he opened last year on with the big league club. It didn't go great. He was injured. First, he had an oblique deal. Then in July, he had an elbow situation. He's not going to be a full go by Tuesday. So that's why I didn't have him on the opening day roster. I think that they're going to take it slow with this elbow. Elbows, they're not as bad as shoulders. But, Mark, I believe, after his first full pro season, during his first full pro season, dealt with some elbow inflammation again, did not have to have surgery. You never want to have surgery, so I think the Rangers are slow playing this one. But when he's right, it hits 100. He has a splitter and a slider, which he doesn't have any problem throwing. The issue I thought last year when he did a pitch for the Rangers was the command. It wasn't quite there. He wasn't in the strike zone enough. His stuff plays. It's good enough when it's in the strike zone, but he's got to command it. And if he does that, then yeah, you're going to see him probably early in the season. I mean, I would think if it's healthy and it's coming out good and it looks like he can help the team. The Rangers have shown that they are not afraid to do that. And then, yeah, Josh Sborz. There's just a lot of questions, Cordua, thanks for bringing him up, about Josh Sborz. We don't know how hard he's throwing. We assume it's harder. Okay, we assume it's harder. But is it going to make him effective enough? He has the great curveball. There was no problem with the curveball last year. It was the velocity, as we all know, as we've all talked about. And he revealed finally midway through the season that Meister had told him, hey, you may not get it back this year. And he didn't. The Rangers shut him down rather than force him into, a spot where it wouldn't help him. Non-tendered him. He just signed last month on a minor league deal. He's got a chance too, but the velocity's got to be there. If it comes back, yeah, Kelly, man, hope the velo comes back. If it does, he's good. When he's been healthy, you can go back to 23. 23, his ERA wasn't great, but there were times when he was healthy, he was great. When he was hurt and tried to pitch through it, it didn't go well. So health is always a thing for every pitcher, but for Josh Sborz especially. You heard the bell. That's Elijah's signature note. That was some quick, fast bullpen talk. Coming up next, it was a really busy weekend in baseball, and I'm wondering, and you might be too, did the Rangers miss some chances? That's coming up after these words from our sponsors. Hey, this episode is brought to you by our good friends at Wild Fork Foods. If you weren't able to do the Stars watch party over the weekend, Wild Fork provided all the food, and they provided my favorite, which is picanha. I absolutely love picanha. It's been a Christmas staple that we didn't do this year. It's been a Christmas staple. And I got to admit, I'm a little bit guilty here. I haven't been to Wild Fork for about a month. I need to get up there, load up on meats. They have so many different kinds of meat, so many different cuts of beef, for instance, of pork, chicken, all of it, seafood. You can get a whole pig, for crying out loud. Wild Fork Food has it all. They have 9 DFW locations. WildForkFoods.com is the website. And let me tell you, if you need any help, they have the friendliest people there to answer all of your questions. Go to WildForkFoods.com. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Mars Men. 50% off for life, free shipping, and 3 free gifts when you go to mengotomars.com and sign up. It's a testosterone unlocker, a testosterone booster. You don't even have to have low T to take this. It helps with your focus. It helps give you energy. The unlocking part that I was talking about, there's a protein that works against testosterone. Well, this little handy product, Mars Men, will go in there, knock the handcuffs off, if you will, and let your low T do its thing. And then this is a great product. It's made in the USA. It's tested. It has zinc in it. And if anybody remembers the Gordie Howe episode in The Simpsons in season 3, you know you can't live in a world without zinc. So Mars Men, 50% off for life, free shipping, 3 free gifts. Men, go to mars.com. If you have low T or bad focus, this is your product. All right. I think you saw there during those ad reads, right at the end of the Wild Fork and right at the beginning of Mars Men, I was fighting off a sneeze. I was closing my eyes and doing funny things with my mouth. I usually don't do those things. So that was a sneeze. Yeah, so you guys are well aware because you're big time baseball fans, and a lot of times you'll alert me to these things. Busy weekend in baseball. A lot of guys signed. There was a big trade, and I kind of wondered, especially because of the first guy we're going to talk about here, did the Rangers miss a chance? And the first guy is Luis Arraez. He took $1 year, $12 million deal from the Giants, had an opportunity to sign for less, or sign a longer deal for more guaranteed money with other clubs. But it turns out Mr. Arraez wanted to play second base, and the Giants are giving him that opportunity. Early in the offseason, Arraez kind of popped up on Rangers fans' radar, my radar, because Skip Schumacher, who managed Arraez with the Marlins in 23 and 24, said that Luis Arraez is one of his favorite players. We're thinking, oh man, Rangers are going to get their new manager a shiny toy, something he likes, give him a little leeway here and let him, get the guy he wants. Of course, he was blocked at the time by Marcus Semien. So Marcus Semien gets traded, November 23rd for Brandon Nimmo. And then Arraez started to make a ton of sense for the Rangers. They needed a second baseman, and Arraez, the defense not there, the speed not necessarily there, the power definitely not there, but he can hit. He can put the ball in play. He fits what the Rangers want to do offensively. And it didn't happen. And we think we know why. We think it's financial. But even as this market came down to a 1-year deal, $12 million still was probably a lot for the Rangers to swallow, considering their financial circumstances. I hope they checked in. I don't know that they did, but they're very committed to Josh Smith and somebody else, maybe a platoon partner, maybe Josh Smith full time. We're going to talk about that Wednesday's show. Cody Freeman is going to be on, so we can talk about second base then. But I wonder, did it get close? Were they itching at the end? Did they ask Mr. Davis, hey, we can get this guy for a pretty nice sum. Maybe it'll work in our favor next year toward re-signing him. I don't know if it got to that point or not, but I'm going to say it didn't. But it still feels like maybe a miss there. Another move, and I don't know that the Rangers were ever in the market for a third baseman. Okay, Josh Young, value and finances. He's going to make 2.9 this year. He's still young. They are encouraged by the exit interview, the end of last season, and him working on different swings and hopefully getting a little bit back to the approach he showed in the minors and in college. I don't know that Josh Young was ever they ever thought about replacing him when push came to shove. But Eugenio Suarez might have been a pretty good replacement, right? He signed a 1-year deal with the Reds for $15 million. He's going back to Cincinnati. Interestingly, the Reds had not had a player hit more than 25 home runs since Suarez did it in 2021. And you saw Suarez from the All-Star break of 24 till the All-Star break last season. Eugenio Suarez was one of the best hitters in baseball. Outrageous numbers that he put up. He was in a hitter's park in Arizona, but he was in a tough division now, with the pitching that comes out of that National League West. Really good offensive player. The Mariners got him back at the deadline. Didn't go very well, but you still thought that this guy would get more than 1 in 15. And I think he's going to go to Cincinnati, where he once hit, I think, 44 home runs. Right. I think he's going to find that again at that hitter's ballpark. He has something to prove. All that after not getting the deal he wanted. He's going to be a free agent again potentially next year. There is a mutual option, which I've never really understood. The mutual option, how does that work? Like, you want to come back? Yeah, okay, we want you back. Perfect. Hey, that's easy. I don't know. They never seem to work. The Rangers had a mutual option with David Robertson. We'll get to him in a minute. It didn't pan out. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if the Rangers missed anything here. However, I think the Mariners did, right? When you look at their depth chart right now, their third basemen are Ben Williamson, Miles Mastrobuoni, and Leo Rivas. All right. They didn't resign Jorge Polanco. I don't know that this is I don't know. The Mariners have intentions of repeating, and maybe they're the favorites to win the AL West. I think they definitely are the favorites, but this one hurts. Now, I saw something this morning that old Jerry Dipoto, the GM of the Mariners, said he's working on something. Well, if I'm a Mariners fan, I hope he's working on a third baseman. This one, I think, was a clear mischance. Austin Hayes, the right-handed hitting outfielder who just, for the Reds last year, really, really hit left-handers very well. He went to the White Sox. 1-year deal, $6 million. In the offseason, the Rangers discussed Hayes. He was one of their targets. And reportedly over the weekend, they were one of the teams, according to John Heyman, that made an offer to him. Corner outfielder, again, a right-handed hitter who can pop the ball out of the park against left-handers. Would have been perfect. Brandon Nimmo, if he ever needs a day off against lefties, there you go. Evan Carter, who's going to get days off against lefties, shuffle things around, get Hayes in there. It works. All right, so now, super chat from our guy T.O. After seeing Hayes got essentially 1 in 5, can we get Andujar on a lesser deal? You might be able to. He is one of the remaining right-handed bats that's out there. Marcell Ozuna is out there. I know a lot of people have liked Marcell Ozuna, wanted the Rangers to sign him. He's very limited, though. Defensively, kind of a butcher, right? Let's just be honest. And so would he just be a DH? right-handed hitting DH, because you're going to need one of those, because Jock Peterson's not going to face many lefties. There would be a purpose for him, but it would really cripple your bench flexibility, your roster flexibility. Another one, in addition to Andujar, who makes a lot of sense, Randall Grichuk. I bring that up because in 2024, when Jock Peterson was putting together the kind of season that made the Rangers give him $36 million, the right-handed hitter in that platoon in Arizona was Randall Grichuk. That's the only reason I bring it up. I mean, I'm sure he could be had very affordably, right? But anyway, just throwing it out there. There are still some right-handed bats available. Ty France, I think, is available. More of a first baseman. Probably play a little bit in the infield somewhere, but I think these days that's his spot, first base. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody was signed. But again, it's got to be the right deal. It's got to be the right price. I think Robbie Grossman back there in 23, guy who, switch hitter, not unlike Sam Haggerty. Sam Haggerty really hits well against left-handers, struggles against right-handers. That was kind of Grossman's deal. Anyway, food for thought there. And then another one, and Rarities, who I haven't seen in the chat yet, pointed this out to me. Jordan Hicks, who the Red Sox traded to the White Sox. Here we go again with the White Sox, making themselves better. I think they've made 7 moves. Plus they traded Luis Robert, and they've been active this offseason. Hicks throws it through a wall. I think he's been clocked at 105, something crazy like that. Control's always been an issue. The Giants signed him from the Cardinals a few off seasons ago, tried to make him a starting pitcher. That experiment did not work. He ended up in Boston, and it didn't work either. So the Red Sox didn't want him, and they were on the hook for $24 million over the next 2 years. They're going to eat 8 of that. The White Sox, who are really thin in the bullpen after Sir Anthony Dominguez, who they just signed, could probably use Hicks. Maybe he closes for them. Could he have closed for the Rangers? I mean, theoretically he could have, but I don't know where he is. I know that when he has been a reliever, and they have tried, when the Cardinals did try to use him as a closer, it didn't stick. I think Helsley ended up being the preferred guy there. And anyway, some food for thought on that one. Now, if the Rangers are going to add to the bullpen, as we talked about in the first segment, Danny Coulombe looks like he's the best of the rest. There aren't a lot of guys available, and Coulombe, who lives right up the road in Richardson. I mean, we could probably be to his house in 20 minutes from here. Just makes sense. He's really good against both sides, and probably would be motivated to pitch here in his hometown. Probably enjoy it, or not his hometown. It's where he lives now. But you get my point. I think Danny Coulombe is a guy the Rangers need to keep their eye on. Rarities, what kind of prospects got traded for Hicks? The White Sox sent, I think, their number 20 prospect, 21st prospect, starting pitcher. They got, because they're eating so much money, the Red Sox 11th overall prospect, and there are a lot of people who think that this guy's going to end up in their rotation. The White Sox aren't short on starters. They're short on proven starters, but they're not short on starters, and they think that this guy is going to have a chance. So, the more money you take on, the better prospects you're going to get in return. That's just kind of the way the business works. But anyway, I thought this was a pretty darn interesting weekend, and I think it's going to stay busy. Again, spring training starts in 8 days for a lot of the clubs, most of the clubs, a little earlier because of the World Baseball Classic. But the point is, guys are really itching now. They want to get in a camp. They want to get settled as soon as they can. Airbnbs and Verbos are very hard to find in these spring training sites and towns now. So they want to get it going, and I think you're going to see an influx of deals here over the next few days. I don't know if that means Framber Valdez is going to sign. He's still the biggest one, right? I think I saw he's the only guy on the MLB Top 100 list, the MLB Network Top 100 list, who is unsigned. So what does that tell you about Framber? Well, we've talked about it a lot. So anyway, you know where I'm going with that. Right now, though, we're going to go to our next ad break. And when we come back, it's time for your questions. A whole segment devoted to them. We'll do that right after this. All right, guys. I'm glad to see so many of you regulars back in the chat despite our changes. And I hope you guys still remember being or stay in the Supporters Club. And if you're listening for the first time or have thought about becoming a member of the Supporters Club, do it, okay? It's our the YouTube version of being a diehard, except it's a lot more affordable. You get the icons, or I'm sorry, the emojis, all that stuff. Basically what this is it's behind the scenes videos. We will be doing them. Each beat does one a month, not just the Rangers, not just the Cowboys. It's all four of us. And it's good stuff. It's behind the scenes looks at how we go about our jobs. It's talking about things we've encountered in our careers. They're mostly goofy. I think I saw Bobby Carella doing one in a Lakers jersey. He had to go on the Mavs show there at the start and say he hates the Lakers. It was just part of the video. I'm going to believe him on that one. Although, I'm assuming the Luka deal had something to do with it. Is today the 1 year anniversary, or was it yesterday? The 1 year anniversary. Yesterday is the 1 year anniversary of the Luka Doncic trade. Yeah. So anyway, I think we still have some leftover Luka Doncic shirts at store.allcitynetwork.com on sale. You can go and pick up those on the cheap. These are high quality items, not just t-shirts. We have sweatshirts, which have been keeping me warm in this cold weather. Hats, which keep my head warm and keep me looking good. This is our first hat, the OG hat. I guess it's a Cowboys hat with the coloring and everything, but it's probably my favorite. I've got three of the four others, so 5 hats total. Pint glasses, flags, coffee cups, all kinds of stuff at store.allcitynetwork.com. If you're diehard, you get 20% off, and the shipping is fast, so you'll get it pretty quick. All right, it is time for your questions. I wanted to devote a whole segment to you guys. Doing this one-man stuff. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. I'm trying to look in there and see you guys making comments and all kinds of things, but I want to catch up here. So let's go to the very, very top. Holly, I did see you say hi to everybody. Same thing with you, Kurdua. So I appreciate that. All About Sports Zone. Who do you think is the dark horse candidate to win the closer role? I really think it's Alexis Diaz, despite the eyesore numbers he's posted lately. I think that's it. Yeah, it would work so well for the Rangers. They would have a guy who would be a closer, who would be under arbitration. They wouldn't have to worry about it next year. They wouldn't have to answer the question, who's going to be your closer, because assuming Diaz is highly capable, it would be him. But if it's a young guy, I think it's going to be, like I said earlier, Cole Winn. Work his way into it, and hopefully it happens. I mean, Cole's from Colorado, so we have that connection. I was hoping to talk to him this week about the Broncos leading up to the Super Bowl and how we're still pretty sore about the Bo Nix injury and all that stuff. But aside from being from Colorado, he can pitch too, and you don't see a ton of talent come out of Colorado, other than me and Roy Halladay from the same high school. That's it, and then Cole Winn. So. Gossman, he's out of Colorado too. There are a couple others. You know what I'm saying. Misty, I appreciate that, but let's not call it the Jeff Wilson show just yet. Joe, any ideas when they'll announce the TV schedule and the new City Connect? Joe, I have no idea. I really don't. The spring TV schedule should come out, I would assume soon. I guess I could call Dave Raymond and see if he wanted to spill the beans on that or not. The City Connect, I was wondering, I remember a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago now. I'm kind of dating myself, but it was when Napoli was on the team. And the Rangers were going to do their commemorative jerseys. I look back at the jerseys of, franchise past jerseys. And I remember in spring training that they did a photo shoot with him and maybe, I want to say Hamilton, Kinsler, and Michael Young. I don't know if that's right. But so this must have been like 2011 or 2012. Anyway, they announced that at spring training. So I wonder if the City Connect stuff could happen at spring training. If it doesn't happen at spring training, it would have to happen. That was during those one of those two exhibition games against the Royals right before the season starts. So would that be the 22nd and 23rd? No, 23rd and 24th at Globe Life Field. So that's what my money's on. I want to see him. I'll be honest. My son's baseball program, they were hoping to see the new City Connects and try to match those as much as they could for the spring uniforms. But alas, we're stuck with the Orioles. Anyway, it's not stuck. They have a partnership with the Orioles. Anywho, looks like I'll be wearing some black and gold this spring. How do I feel about Gavin Collier? Tyler asks. Minor league deal, but has some underlying metrics. He does. His fastball, it's a unique one. I wrote a story today kind of looking at these young guys. I didn't mention Gavin. I did mention Eric Loomis, who was the Rangers reliever of the year last year, pitched at 3 levels. Frisco didn't go great, but it was only 7 2/3 innings. Filthy numbers at Hub City. If you look at his batters, opponent's average, it was 115. Yeah, so this guy knows how to pitch. It's another unique fastball that plays well at the plays well high in the zone. He likes to work high in the zone. He has a good slider. He's going to be in camp. Probably won't make the team. Probably opens in Frisco, but a guy from the 24 draft who, is 23, was probably 22 or 23 last year. So he should have been ahead at A-ball. But he did it. He went out and delivered. I'm looking forward to seeing, besides Robbie Alstrom, Josh Trenadu. I really want to know a little bit more about him. His college numbers and College of Southern Idaho, fantastic. And his minor league numbers have been great too. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do some work. So no, Joe. Oh, there's your question again. Could I see Rocker in the bullpen this year, not Razor? No, I can't. I really, well, let me take that back. If the Rangers were to be in a playoff chase and needed an arm and felt good about the 5 starters they had if Rocker wasn't one of them, then I could see that. I could really see them asking him to come into the bullpen. He could cover multiple innings. I know everybody thinks he could be a closer, and maybe he could on a short-term basis. We saw Roki Sasaki do it. Kumar doesn't throw 100, though. So I don't know. I think that would be the circumstance, barring like a catastrophic spring like the Rangers had last year with Bradford being hurt and John Gray being hurt, and then kind of having to force some guys into the rotation who didn't need to be in the rotation, and maybe force some guys into the bullpen who should have been down there at AAA starting. Where are we now? Yeah, the Hicks trade. I hope you saw Sports Zone. You saw that one. Joe likes Smith at second. Just hope he can hold up for a full season. Yeah, that seems to be the question, right? Can he do it for a full year? He's aware of that. If there's a pill out there, maybe he needs some Marsmen. I don't know. Maybe that would help him unlock the second half Blues. I think, when you look at the second base candidates, they keep insisting there are 5 if you include Haggerty and Hellman. The other 4 guys are right-handed hitters. So there's a platoon opportunity. Diaz, Freeman, Hellman, Haggerty. I could see all 5 of those guys making the open day roster in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, we'll have to talk to Cody Freeman about that on Wednesday. Here's a good one. This is a good comment. It's not really a question. And Kurdua, it kind of feeds into what I was about to read. I'd be super curious to see if the Twins would rethink their plans not to trade their players. Now with a new front office guy, would love to get Buxton here. And Kurdua said, do we have the pieces to trade for Buxton? The Rangers have the pieces to trade for Buxton. They're just really kind of getting low on pieces. They traded 5 on the Mackenzie Gore trade, as you know. I don't know what the Buxton trade would cost. You worry about the injuries. But I also remember when the Twins rolled into town here late last year. It was September. It was on the last homestand. And the way that he hit, man, he tore he tore the Rangers apart. When he's healthy, man, he's just an all-around guy, right? He can run. The thing I remember about his performance is he hit a home run, I think, in the first inning and rounded first base and was pumping his fist. This is a team that had completely given up at the trade deadline, sent away like 10 players, including Danny Colomb. And here's Byron Buxton, a veteran who, could have said, hey, my knee's hurt. I'm old. Get me off the field. And there he is rounding first base, pumping his fist like it was a huge game. That, the Rangers could use a lot more of that. I think Wyatt Langford can become that. Not necessarily Byron Buxton, but an emotional guy like that. Joe Sigler, been seeing talk where Scherzer is waiting till midseason. Yeah, I've seen that too. I don't know. It just gets weird for these guys. They start getting the itch, and they're gonna realize that they don't need to be at home, or they don't need to be facing college kids or whatever for their live BPs and their bullpen sessions. They're gonna start to get the itch. Now Max, we know he's older. We know he's great. He's going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. All of that stuff. Maybe he wants to take a page from his 2024 teammate David Robertson last year with the Phillies. Again, we'll talk about David here in a minute. I don't know. Ben, who of the little rascals do you see contributing a lot in the season, and why is it Hellman? Hellman apparently can play second base. I went and looked a little deeper at Michael. Was the starting second baseman at Texas A&M in 2018. Was drafted immediately, played second base pretty much exclusively his first two seasons, pro seasons, and then COVID hit. And then he was suddenly more of an outfielder. He still played some infield, sprinkled around though, became, played at shortstop, played some third base. And then I think his last 3 years in the minors, I think that includes this year, played like less than 20 games at second. Now, it might be like riding a bike. Okay. You never lose it. You figure it out real quick. Anyway, he's got some pull side power too. I think we saw that last year. Energetic, can run. Made maybe the catch of the year for the Rangers last year. Right in front of the bullpen, jumping over the wall in center field. So a useful guy. No question about it. Absolutely, positively a useful guy. Again, a lot of it hinges on Evan Carter. And if Evan Carter cannot play against left-handers, if you just can't figure it out, if the Rangers aren't going to give him a ton of opportunities, they're going to need a right-handed hitting center fielder. If Josh Smith needs days off against lefties, they're going to need a right-handed hitting second baseman. Maybe Hellman can play some first base because or can DH, because God knows they don't want Jock Peterson facing lefties. So there's a role for him. He's just got to go and win it. Win it. Is there anywhere I can find some info on Brock Porter? Curious to see how he's doing. I remember hitting 100 and started to wonder while he was training, can't give up on this guy. Tato, I agree. It was an interesting year last year. The Rangers they kind of let him dictate things. They were like, do you want to start or do you want to relieve? He said he wanted to relieve. He wanted more touches with the ball. He wanted to pitch more often than just once a week as they do in the minors. And, you can't give up on him. You spend a ton of money on him for one. And guys go through seasons like he had in 24. Roy Halladay, I keep saying it. His very first appearance, he almost throws a no-hitter in the major leagues. Next year, he's an A-ball because he was getting everything reworked. Something went wacky. It worked out pretty well for him. Now, I'm not saying, of course, that Brock is a Hall of Fame pitcher, but yeah, I wouldn't give up on him. I think starting is still something they want him to do, and maybe he works into that. Maybe this is the year. But last I heard, he's doing well. Apparently, he was engaged. He's engaged. I don't know that he got married yet, but Brock Porter seems to be in a pretty good spot. All right, not Razor. Last question. How many wins do you think the Rangers need to make the playoffs? 86. We'll go with 86. All right. We got one more ad break, and then we're going to do some batting cleanup. And if you guys pop in some more questions, I'm going to try to get to those too after this. All right, diehard time. Become a diehard. Become a diehard. QR code's about to pop up there. Elijah's going to do that. There it is. Or you can go to alldls.com. You can do a lot of things. I think our battery died. You can you can go to alldls.com/intro and get a cheap offer either with the hat as a free gift or free T-shirt. If you want to do full price, we'd greatly appreciate that as well. You do get the free T-shirt. There I am. Oh man, did you guys miss me? Anyway, you get access to everything we write. That means most of our stuff that's behind the paywall. You get access to that. Not just Texas Rangers stuff, Cowboys, Stars, Mavs. We had an interesting interaction, Ron Harrod with Jason Kidd. You may have seen that. Might want to check out our Mavs site on that one. It's the way to go, And again, DLLS is the only outlet in the Metroplex that has a beat writer on all 4 teams, and that's saying something. We have the great legacy newspaper here in Dallas that does not have a regular Stars writer. We do, Sam Nestor. Okay, we're looking to expand. I know that's might be ironic considering what happened last week, but we still have plans to eventually cover colleges. I did cover TCU for a good part of my career, so maybe that comes to fruition at some point. SMU's having a renaissance now that they're legally able to pay players again. So there are a lot of reasons to become a diehard. 20% off of the merch store, like we talked about, store.allcitynetwork.com. 20% off events that we're going to have, and it's the Cool Kids Club. You're the well-informed club. You're a diehard. That means you know so much about our sports teams. Okay, we are going to clean up. Batting cleanup. I've gotten the lead on. Well, I guess they're all number 4 hitters at this point. But we do want to wish a happy belated 79th birthday to Nolan Ryan. His birthday was Saturday. He shares the birthday with Jackie Robinson and Ernie Banks. Different years, of course, but man, what a pretty cool deal that is. 3 Hall of Famers, January 31st. TR Sullivan tweeted out that he didn't know that. I'm surprised at that, TR. You're a trivia maven, especially when it comes to baseball trivia. I pointed out Greg Maddux and Pete Rose have the same birthday, April 14th, 25 years apart. Kind of cool to look at those dates and see what was in the water those days when they were conceived. Try to backtrack and see if we can produce a couple Hall of Famers. David Robertson, I've hinted at this. He has retired. David turns 41 on April 9th. His last full wire-to-wire Major League season was with the Rangers in 2024. Great season, 3-4, 3.00, so 3 ERA, 99 strikeouts in 72 innings. I remember, I think it was the last day of the season, hoping he could get to 100 strikeouts. He was at 98. He just picked up the 1. What a year that was for both him and Kirby Yates. He signed with the Phillies at July of last year. Didn't want to pitch a full season. The Rangers did talk to him last off season about it, and they kind of got the inkling that David wasn't going to sign for a full season. Family obligations. He lives in Rhode Island. His kids are getting older, and it just kind of makes sense at this point. Heck of a career, 179 career saves for this guy who debuted in 2008. I want to say learned the tools of the trade under Mariano Rivera with the Yankees. So heck of a career. I love the guy. He pitched with energy and wasn't afraid to show emotion. If he didn't pitch well, he was at his locker waiting for the media. Hey, that's all we ask. All right, there's some WBC news. Oh, yeah, Misty. Yeah, Frank Thomas and Jeff Bagwell. Same day, same year, I believe. Anyway, WBC news. The big news is that Puerto Rico is considering pulling out of the WBC because many of their best players are unable to get insurance for the event. we already knew Carlos Correa wasn't getting the insurance, and plus I think the Astros are kind of putting the kibosh on it. Francisco Lindor, I mean, that's their best player, right? Jose Barrios, the pitcher, Victor Caratini, the catcher, Emilio Pagan, Pagan, and not Alexis Diaz, the established Diaz, Edwin, who was hurt during their last World Baseball Classic. And maybe that's why this insurance thing is suddenly a problem. They aren't allowed to play for Puerto Rico. So, you're looking at Puerto Rico kind of being a pushover, I would think, unless they pull some guys out of retirement. Maybe Carlos Delgado and Carlos Beltran can suit up for him. I don't blame them, and I don't know why this is suddenly an issue. And again, maybe it is the Diaz injury. Now, they're not the only country having issues with this. The Dominican, Ellie De La Cruz, is not going to be allowed to play. Venezuela, Jose Altuve and Salvador Perez having trouble with the insurance, plus the Astros didn't want Altuve to do it. I don't know. Perez seems to be able to do whatever he wants in Kansas City. He's a living legend there. So anyway, that's pretty interesting. A pretty interesting turn for a great event, right? I mean, we all love this. So anyway, other WBC news: Shohei Ohtani will not pitch for Team Japan, but he will participate as their designated hitter and leadoff hitter, and probably do some great things. And he will not be pitching though, but plans are for him to be in the season opening rotation for the Dodgers. His Dodgers teammate and fellow Japanese right-hander Roki Sasaki, he will not perform, will not pitch, won't do anything in the WBC per the Dodgers' request. Hard to blame the Dodgers. Maybe if Sasaki had more of a full season last year, it would have made some sense to let him do it. But he was quickly injured last season, which happens to a lot of the Japanese players as they come over for their first season. New ball, more pitching, more wear and tear via travel, making adjustments to the culture. All those things could have factored into what ultimately happened to him. He looked great in the postseason over 1 and 2 inning stints. Hard to argue with that. But the Dodgers have bigger plans for him this season. If he's healthy, and we talked about it on the show Friday, you've got Sasaki, you've got Ohtani, you've got Yamamoto, Glasnow, and last but not least, the 2-time Cy Young winner, Blake Snell. Though Snell, again, is reportedly dealing with a tired shoulder and really has just recently started throwing to get ready for the season, may not be ready for opening day. Okay, that's fine. He'll be okay. Something else that was pretty interesting, we have the tweet of this. The sports power couple, I guess, though I don't know that Livy Dunn's a great athlete anymore. Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn are dating. Dunn, the gymnast from LSU, who is really like the poster child for NIL and self-marketing in the NIL area, or she was the first one to do it, kind of a trailblazer. Paul won the Cy Young last year, probably going to win it this year, let's be honest. Anyway, he had somebody step in the box for him the other day during a bullpen session. Livy Dunn, which is crazy. Let's take a look. Ball out of the hand, I guess. I bet she didn't see it. That's my first inkling. She didn't see the ball. She was in full take mode. I'm surprised she didn't back out. Give her a little credit for digging her feet there in the turf and not flinching. I don't know that Paul gave it his all on that one, and he did aim at the outside corner. I don't know. Maybe he's having some command issues. I'm not sure, but that's interesting to see that. And look, they seem like they're a real couple. They met at college. They met at LSU. And, they go everywhere together. Maybe that's some of her marketing. But I did wonder about the bat. It seemed like that might have been aluminum. One of those Victus, like, pencil bats that they have for the kids that I see a lot at Little League. I don't know. Aluminum, it's hard as he throws. Maybe she could get one up the middle. Not sure. There's been some more TV news, and TV was not my wheelhouse. That was John's job. But the Cardinals have bailed on FanDuel. Apparently more are going to follow as they try to figure out the way to maximize their money. FanDuel's a disaster, just like Bally, or what was it, Diamond? Bally became under the Diamond Sports Network before the bankruptcy and the reorganization and all of that. Excuse me. I mean, this was totally going to happen, right? There was no way that the new network was going to survive. But now it's going to trickle down to the NBA teams, the NHL teams. Holly was saying that the Braves are going to launch their own network. The Braves, interestingly, are, they're owned by a publicly traded company. You can access their team finances. The Braves are doing all right. Okay, I think they made $150 million last year, something like that. They have the kind of money where they can start their own network. Maybe they can call up the Rangers and get some advice on how to do it. CJ Nikowski has some ties there, so they can have CJ make some calls and put their people in touch with the Rangers people, see what's going to go on. MLB, it's just kind of fallen to them. All these TV networks, they want to own them all, especially the streaming rights. It just seems like eventually they're going to swallow them all up. That's Rob Manfred's goal. And, he's going to be what? He's going to check out in 2029, I think is his last year. We'll see what this thing looks like in a couple of years. Hopefully there's baseball. Hopefully hopefully they can figure out this labor thing. Imagine doing this show next year by myself with no baseball to talk about. A lot of college football and college basketball we're going to be talking about if that's the case. Anyway, yeah, I hope that the Rangers are selling. Hope the network's going to be a big success. I think somebody, Joe, was it you? I saw somebody got their Victory Plus renewal offer for $100 for a limited time. Go ahead and do that if you want. It's still a good deal. And look, you got to see the Rangers play. Now at least there's an opportunity to do that in this market. The Rangers, the sports network, sounds like it's going to be the same. Basic's going to do 100. I think it's going to be Murph. Dave Raymond back for play-by-play. Laura on the color stuff. And year two. Woof. There it was. All the way from the ad breaks more than an hour ago. Finally got it out. Anywho, the Rangers have a chance to make some money. You see what the teams that have their own TV networks have done. The Dodgers kind of being the exception because the language in their contract is different now than everybody else. But still, you can control your own product, make your own money, not have to share it with anybody, cover your bills. Payroll's going to go up. You're going to be able to spend more money down the road. At least that's the theory. Bless you. Thank you guys for all that. Misty, I miss Emily Jones. I like old Emily. I mean, obviously, I've known her for years. We're Do It for Dirt board. But man, she's killing it doing everything else, especially her Mom Game podcast and TV commercials and stuff like that. So Emily's doing just fine. And her kids, her son's also named Henry, are 14 and 12. My kids are 13 and 11. So we have a lot of cross talk. And it's always good to see Emily when she's out at the ballpark or doing an appearance or whatever it is Emily does. She has her so many irons and so many different fires. It's crazy. But yeah, boy, she was a staple. Kind of like John was for all those years on Bally and Fox Southwest. Love them both dearly. And hey, we'll see what happens here in a couple months, won't we? Like I said, our show is now 3 days a week. This one was a lot better, guys. Friday we were all kind of in a malaise. We all had a kind of a pall over us. I mean, John is still alive and doing well, but it felt pretty bad. I hope I had more energy today. I tried to get my face more in the screen rather than talking like this. So I hope the show was good. I hope it keeps getting better for as long as it's just me, as long as it's 3 days a week. Look for more stuff from the weekly show. We're going to try to add a show a week. Still figuring out some things we can do with this one. But keep in mind Wednesday's show, Cody Freeman is going to come on. I believe at 115. He has to bat. He has hitting in Arizona with Justin Vealey at 11:30 or their time, so 12:30 here. He thinks he's going to make 115 work. So join us then, Cody Freeman and me. Cody Freeman for only about 15 minutes, and then me on the DLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.